So Azure Data Factory, so in the single statement, we can say it is a ETL tool, ETL feature in the cloud-based ETL. Uh, right? We know that. So why and when we have to use that ETL? So that actually the ETL, we will use that ETL concept, whether it is on premises or cloud-based. ETL, when we will use it now, we will use that ETL for extracting data from the different sources and loading the data into the data warehouse. So this is the purpose only. We will use that ETL concept. So this Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based ETL. So here, so first we will see that one. What is Data Factory? So the same concept. The on-premises and the just imagine in our business organization, they are having all the application in the on-premises environment only. They are having in that on-premises, they are having different types of databases. They are using that Azure SQL Server database, Oracle database, Excel files, and some log files, which is in the flat file concept, CSV files. So or some other databases like Sybase or SAP. So it might be the different data sources they may use in that existing business flow. So all are available in that on premises. So but nowadays the business getting increasing, so they want to store that some huge amount of data, and also it should be easy maintenance and manageable. So what the organization thinking means, so they are planning to move all the data into the cloud. So what they're planning now, so they're planning to move the data from that on premises to and cloud. So for moving that data any source to destination, so we have to do that some transformation. We have to do first, we have to extract it. So the extraction is nothing but it is a connection. The extraction is nothing but it is a connection from the source. So we are extracting data by connecting the source. We are extracting data. So the extraction. So and we are after extraction, we are doing that some transformation. Actually, the transformation is nothing but we are doing some cleansing work in our existing data, because we are again we are getting data from the different sources actually. So the different sources, we could not expect all source data will be in the same formatting. So we have to check that one whether those all data are in the same formatting or not. If it is not in the same formatting, now we have to do the transformation. So it is called data cleansing or the data massaging. I can say like the data massaging. So for getting that cleaned formatted data, we are going to do some massaging in that data. For example, changing the data types and giving that proper column fields names for all the same name structures. So everything we are going to align it. So this type of aligning, this type of data processing, modifying, or that massaging, any name you can use it. So this type of data massaging, actually it is called transformation. So once the transformation is properly completed, so finally we will get that some cleaned structured formatted data, we will get that. So this type of cleaned structured formatted data, we have to load it into that our data warehouse, our destination. We have to load it in this scenario. Here our location, our destination is cloud. So what we are doing here we are transforming data from the on premises to cloud only. We are going to transform it. So here the destination is cloud. So to the cloud we are going to load the data. So the destination cloud database of SQL, it might be the SQL database or SQL warehouse or the blob data or data lake. So it might be any of the storage in the destination, the cloud destination. So to the cloud destination, we are going to load. So this type of data transformation processing, so we are going to do. So we are going to move the data from that on premises to cloud. So for that, we are doing these types of steps. So to do this type of steps, that means there's this processing. So we need that one cloud-based supporting ETL. We need that cloud-based supporting ETL because here the destination is cloud. So here the
Yeah.
source is on premises, but the destination is cloud. So we have to load all the data from that on premises to cloud, so that the class the natural default ETL tools are which is using in the current market SSIS or that Informatica or data stages. These type of ETL tools are using only for that on-premises environment only it is supporting. But here our scenario, we are moving the data, we are migrating the data from that data source to so destination on premises to so cloud environment we are going to use it. So we here we need that one ETL which is supporting the cloud environment. That ETL is called that data factory. So the data factory is that ETL for transforming, that means that transforming data from one source to cloud source. So this is not only for the on-premises to cloud. So if you want to move your data from the cloud to cloud also, we can do it, because some scenarios we will move the data, data lake to data lake or blob to data lake or some other data service, some other cloud services we will move it. So cloud to cloud also we can use it, and on-premises to cloud if you are going to use it now, then we can use this type of so data factory we have to use it. So the ETL transformation, if you want to do it in that Azure cloud environment now, so then we have to use that Azure data factory. So the Azure data factory for the ETL purpose in the cloud environment. So this is the purpose only we are going to use that data factory. Fine. So let's move
Yeah.
into that next
So
one.
one question,
Yeah.
in destination, right? The database, everything I understood. What is data lake? It is like,
So actually, data lake
um,
also it is in one of the services like SQL. Actually, we have created SQL database, right? It's a SQL database.
okay,
It's a structured one. The data lake also it's a data storage environment in the Azure. So here we can store all the flat type files, datas,
okay,
folders. We can create it, and also we can load the data. So these all are data storage area only,
okay, okay,
but each one is a separate services for each one, so they are charging different amounts. So based on that data storage which is you are going to select it, based on the storage they will charge the amount. So blob will be something less than data lake, the charges.
okay,
So but these all are data storages only.
okay, okay.
It's clear.
Yeah.
Fine. So next we are going to move into that another slide. So what is data factory? So now just now we have discussed why data factory. So we got that idea. So why we have to use it and when we have to use it. What is data factory? So simple. It is a ETL. So it is a cloud-based data integration tool. It is a cloud-based data integration service. So data integration service, actually the integration services, especially we are using that ETL. So that it is nothing but data factory is nothing but it is a cloud-based ETL. So that ETL allows you to create data-driven workflows in the cloud for orchestrating and automating data movement and data transformation. See here, the data factory, we can create and schedule automated data pipeline that can extract data from multiple sources, transforming based on the business rules and loaded in target. See, what is data vector? Data factory is nothing but it is an integrated services which is using for the cloud access, cloud-based data integration services. So if you want to use that any of the ETL process now, actually you have to create the pipeline. So by creating the pipeline only, we can do that ETL process. So the ETL, so we are going to create the pipeline now. So the data factory, we can create and schedule that pipeline. So one pipeline we can create it for that, for extracting data from that Excel to SQL Server, Cloud SQL, Azure SQL, or that SQL Server database, on-premises SQL Server databases to Azure SQL, or that log file which is available in the on-premises. So on-premises to cloud environment, if you want to move it now, then you can create a separate pipeline. So here the pipeline creation, pipeline is the process actually. So the data factory is nothing. It is a ETL. So for ETL means, so what we are going to do now, we are going to create the pipeline. The pipeline is nothing but it's a collection of activities. Those things we will see it later. So very clearly. So, but this is the meaning of this data factory. So data factory is nothing but it is ETL, extract, transform, loading. So using in that cloud environment, Azure cloud environment. Okay, fine. Next. So the typical workflow in the data factory. So data factory is ETL. The how that workflow will be there in the data factory. The typical workflow in the data factory. Actually, we will create a pipeline. Actually, we will create a pipeline first. So then we will create a connection actually. Pipeline. So we have to create the connection for the data sources. Then only we can get the data from the sources. So after connection, that means after getting the data, after extracting the data, we have to do the transformation and enrich. That means the data massaging, the cleansing work, we have to do it based on that our destination. So then we have to publish it. Publish it nothing but you're saving your pipeline. Actually, whatever you have done in that pipeline, what are the steps you have defined? So those steps you have to save it. So publish, it's called here, it's called save. Then you can schedule and monitor your pipeline. So for example, for just I'm having one CSV file in my local drive. CSV file I have that. So I want to move that CSV file data into that my Azure SQL database. So Azure is just here the requirement is moving data from that on-premises CSV file to Azure SQL. So then what we have to do for this process, we have to create the separate pipeline. So then we have to create the connection to that data source and also a destination. We have to create the two connection, one for that source, another one for that destination. So once the source is connected, now we can extract the data. So then we can do that transformation. So then we have to publish it. And then if you want to do that type of process on a daily basis or weekly basis, now, so what we can do now, we can schedule it. And also monitoring features are available. We can monitor it when pipeline is running. So whether the data are process are running properly or not, we can do that monitoring. So this is the typical workflow of this data factory. So this is the flow only we are going to follow when we are creating that new pipeline. Is it clear?
Yes.
Fine. So next, the provisioning a data factory. So how you can create your data factory. So you have to create a new data factory now as usual. So if you are going to create that new services now, already we discussed. So whatever it is, you have to open that create resource or that marketplace. Sorry, from the marketplace we can create. From the marketplace we can create that our data factory. So once the data factory is created now, so it will be available in that like a right side image. So ADF demo Silva, it's our database, data factory. So this is the data factory is created, but that our working environment, the ADF working environment. So it is going to be a separate window. For the ADF, Microsoft, they're providing that separate application. So we have to open that application. So how we can open that application now? See here, this author and monitor. This author and monitor. So by clicking this author and monitor only, we can access that our actual ADF. So all those things we will see it now. So now, so directly we can go to that our Azure portal. So this is the things we have to see today. So now I'm going to log into that my portal, Azure portal. So portal.azure.com. So portal.azure.com, actually I'm going to use that my licensed credentials subscription. So this is my licensed subscription. So here, see, this is my actually it's a licensed subscription actually. So pay as you go model. So the existing usage information, if you want to see it now, you can see here. So now actually, so uh, I already told you. So this is I'm using the pay as you go model. So if you are using that any of the services here now, it will be charged on a daily basis. So that what is a because of that reason, I have cancelled my subscription. So when I want to reuse it now, then you can reactivate it. Now I'm going to reactivate it.
Okay.
So now it's activated. I'm refreshing. So pay as you go, then click. So it is,
It will take 30 minutes, I think.
yes, it is. Sometimes it will be happen immediately.
Okay.
So if I direct a subscription, because it's already complete now, so
Yeah,
it
okay.
is taking. Okay, then it's fine. So now, so here, just come to this home. Now I'm trying to search that SQL database first. SQL database. So I'm going to create that new SQL database. Create. See disabled. So nothing. Just I'm going to create that new demo. So database name. Just I'm giving demo name, and no servers are available. So we have to create it. So here, so so demo server Paul. Just I'm using this name and admin Paul and password. Then I'm confirming password. Just I'm selecting the default US location only, East US location only. I'm selecting. And then here networking, I don't want to select anything. So the default is enough. So validation requirement information is missing or not valid. So this is here actually in this configuration details.
Okay.
Since it's a paid now, just I'm selecting only basics only I'm
Basic.
selecting. So estimation cost, so 359 INR per month. For
Yeah.
per month, whole month, if you're keeping and if you're using that full much amount of data now, then it will be charged like this. If you are using very few amount of data only, if you are using now, it will charge very low amount only to be charged. Then apply. So still it is not created, I think.
I think that one is disabled because of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's one. So fine. So not yet activated. Status active. It's showing active only, but it's still disabled only, I think. So SQL database. Create that SQL database. Still disabled only. Okay, fine. So it will take some time. So meanwhile, we will see that
Yeah.
next one. So actually, I thought to see that one in geo replication. So okay, so we will wait for some time for activation. So here,
Yes, yes.
the next, the building blocks of actually data factory. The what are the actually the typical data flow we have seen? What are the things we have used now? So um, pipeline creation, and then data source and destination connection, and then transformation, and then publish. So then we have to schedule it. This is the high level typical data flow method. Okay. Now we are going to see about building blocks. What are the building blocks available in the data factory? Building blocks, no. So pipeline is one of the building block actually. So this by using this pipeline, creating this pipeline only, we can do it anything. The data factory,
Yeah.
if you are going to do that, any of the data transformations, if you are going to do now, first step, you have to create the pipeline. Instead of the pipeline only, we are going to use that all rest of the things, the connection creation, transformation related task, monitoring, everything we are going to do. The pipeline creation. Instead of the pipeline only, we are going to do that. Actually, those things it's called actual activity. So the activities we are going to create in the pipeline. So the inside of the pipeline, we are going to create the activities. For example, if you want to copy the data from one source to another source, it is one activity. I want to copy the
Okay.
data from one source to another source by applying some conditions. By applying some conditions. So for the conditions, we have to use that if and else concept, or if we want to do that, any of the iteration process, so looping concepts, if we want to use that. Now, whether we can use that for loop concepts, actually here we are having that for each loop concepts are there. Suppose the data source and destination both are having the different data types of the each column, particular column. No? We can do the type conversion for the particular column. So that for the type conversion, we are having the data type conversion features are available as a separate activity. So whatever the steps you are doing inside of the action, it's called activity. And one more is building block. The building block, one more building block is linked services. Linked services, actually this is one of the main very important building block. Actually this linked service is only going to be used to connect with our sources and destinations. Without using the linked services, you could not connect with your source or the destination. So this is for this is supporting us for the connectivity process. So then the data sets, actually the data sets nothing but, suppose if you are connecting on data source on premises na, so if you are connecting with that one of the CSV file na, that CSV file is called data set. So that connected data, we have to keep it in somewhere inside of this cloud, right? Inside of this Azure data factory, right? So for the purpose, we are going to use the data sets. Then data flow. This is one of the building block. Actually, instead of this data flow, we can define our activities actually. This data flow is going to be a separate action, separate activity. Inside of this activity, we can have that multiple sub activities. So everything we will see it in the demo and in the hands-on. And then triggers building block. Actually, triggers building block, what is the purpose we are going to use this triggers building block? No, actually, so once you have created that your pipeline for moving the data from the on premises to cloud, you have defined all the logics activities, you have defined linked services, you have to create it, data sources, everything you have created, right? Actually, that logic you have to run it in the daily basis or weekly basis. So we have to run it, so we have to schedule it. Actually, we have to schedule it. So how we can schedule it? No? So for using the triggering use feature, we can schedule trigger concept. Suppose if you want to do that immediate run, if you want to check that immediate run, na, by running this trigger or now, na, so you can check it. If you want to schedule that pipeline process, na, so then you can schedule it using the triggers only. So the trigger for scheduling your pipeline or running your pipeline. So integration runtime. The integration runtime. Actually, linked services. I said linked services is very important building block. Using this linked services important building block only, we can connect with our data source or data destination. But linked services, just imagine in the scenario, current scenario, what we are going to do. We are going to get the data from the on-premises CSV file to Cloud SQL base, Azure SQL database. So here, the source is on-premises. Destination is Azure SQL database. The linked services, we have to create two. One for connecting with your source and another one for connecting with your Azure SQL. So one for on-premises and one for cloud. See here in the Azure, if we want to connect with the different data sources from the different environment, you have to use that integration runtime. Without using that integration runtime, you could not create the linked service. Linked services for connecting the data sources or data destination, that's fine. Using the linked service only, we can create the connections. But the connection, how the linked services, how we will create the linked services, we will create using the integration runtime only. What are the integration runtimes are available now? Three types of environments: on-premises to cloud, cloud to cloud. That I'm telling that three types of transformation: on-premises to cloud, cloud to cloud, and SSIS package. So SSIS is the ETL tool, Microsoft ETL tool. The SSIS to cloud. So Azure SSIS to cloud. See here, each one will be considered as a separate environment. On-premises to cloud will be considered as a separate environment. Cloud to cloud, it is should be considered as a separate environment. So, and Azure SSIS to Azure, any data source, any data destination, will be considered as a separate data source. So, separate environment. So you have to create the integration runtime for this type of environment actually. For example, in our scenario, what we are going to do now, we are going to move the data from the on-premises environment to Azure. So if you want to create that connection, linked services, first you have to create the integration runtime for on-premises to cloud. Actually, it is called self-hosted runtime, self-hosted SH, self-hosted runtime. The self-hosted runtime, we have to create it. Using that self-hosted integration runtime only, we can create the linked services. So the integration runtime is very, very important for the linked service creation. Without linked service creation, we could not connect to the data sources or destinations. It's clear? So everything will be very, very clear when we are having that hands-on. So don't need to worry about that one. But each one is a separate building blocks. So together, all these type of building blocks only we are going to define our data factory pipeline. These are high level building blocks. Check the data factory. So building blocks of data factory continues. So let's see how different building blocks connected each other. How it is connecting. See here, one pipeline, it is going to be on logical grouping of activities. So activities we can define instead of this pipeline. So this activity runs on linked service. The activity runs on linked services. Linked service is nothing but it is a connection. It is a connection to the source and destination. For example, activity you have defined for copying data. Then copying data, how it will perform, it will connect with the source and then destination. So the connection, source and destination will be available in the linked services. That is the reason activities runs on linked services. At the same time, activity will generate the data sets. See data sets, what is this data sets actually? Using the linked services, it will be connection will be created. After connection creation with the source, what we will do? We will get the data from the data file, right? We will get the data from the data file. So the data file where we have to store it now, we have to so that is the reason only this is the data factory generating the data sets. Data sets is nothing but it's just a table. The data sets represent on the item stored in. Actually, once the data item is available from the source now, then data sets the data only, right? The data we have to store it into the destination. For the destination, we have to use that another link service, right?
Yeah.
Then link services it will be stored. See here. So this is the way only actually the data are actually the flows are connecting. In the each building blocks are connecting. So one by one we can see it very clearly. So meanwhile we will check that one whether that our account is activated or not. Yeah, now it's activated. I'm going to create that one new demo. So the resource group actually we have to create it. The resource group we have to create it. So because all the services we have to store it in the one resource group only, then only we can use it. So I'm going to create this demo user group, resource group, and then database name. Just I'm going to create the demo DB. There is no server, so that I'm going to select my server Paul. So it's available, and the name of the admin, and then password. So the default location, then click OK. See this configuration database, just I'm going to reduce it, the default from basic, then apply. So I don't want to create the elastic pool now, just yes, a review and create. Okay, then create. So error submitting the deployment request, additional details from the underlying API that might be helpful. The subscription. Still it is showing like a disabled only. Why? The subscription. The cancel subscriptions available, right? Then it is means activated.
It's active.
Yeah. Go to this one and then SQL database, create SQL. So pay as you go, create new group, resource group. Yeah, it's already available. Then it's created. So demo is there. The demo DB. Then the server, my server, Paul. So admin Paul. So configuration.
Completed. Yes.
So the estimated cost 359. So create. So now it's creating, right? Actually,
Created.
so
Yes.
it's a refreshment. So sometimes that when we are using the cloud, actually, it might not be update. Actually, it not be refreshed. So that is the reason it will not allow. But now we have closed and then we have refreshed and then we have started from that again from the home. So now it is reflected everything. So now our data, our account is activated. Now it's available. So it is allowing to create that our account. It- so shown all the details, the amount of what it will be if it is using the whole month. Everything it's shown the details. See here, still it is taking time. See
It's
refresh.
created.
It's created. So the deployment succeeded. So it's created. Our database is created. This is our database actually.
Yes, yes.
So then just to scroll down here. This is my database, and then just I'm opening my
Server
server.
name.
So here, so demo dp is our, okay. And what is this one? The replicas, create replica. Okay, yeah. Actually, just I got confused actually. Just over one and a half months before, so this name was geo replication. Okay, here. So this name was geo replication. This name was geo replication actually, but now actually they have changed. I think the UI into replicas.
Replicas.
So that's what I'm confused. So replicas. Just I'm trying to create the new replica. We will try. We will check that one. Oh, what it is giving. So the replica, and but here select a subscription to manage deployed resources and cost. Use resource groups like folders, organize and manage all your resources. So geo replica, and then uh, the server actually it should be different server. Yes, it's called actually. So what I'm doing here, just I'm selecting the new server, my server replica. Okay, my server replica. Then for that server, just I'm creating that username. For that server, I'm using that creating the password. Fine. So then click OK. So my server replica is my new server name. See, the geo replication concepts why we are using means actually if you are facing that any of the natural disaster. So that time your business application should not be affected, right? So the business
Yes.
application should be run seamlessly. But the business source data server is got affected because of that any of the disaster, na? Then the business application will got down, right? It will get failure, right? But it should not be it should not be affected if the main server data is what is that one affected because of that any of the disaster. So that is the reason actually what we will do now, we will create that one a replication of the data server in different location, some other location.
Okay.
So suppose, for example, in our main data server we have created in the East US, right? The
Yes.
East US. So in the East US, actually, if you are going to face that any of the disaster, na, actually, so your server will affected. So your business application will be affected. The end user will not access that your data.
Correct.
So what we have to do now? So we have to create that same copy of the data in the different location. Same copy of the data in the different location.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do here, but here actually I have created that server in that same location, but it is not useful, right?
Yes.
The previous server also available that East US only, East US location only. So actually, what is the purpose of this replica of this database? Na, if there is any disaster happen, na, so we have to continue that our business without any issues. The seamlessly it should be continuous. So that is the reason only we are using that copy of the data. Then copy of the data also, if you are creating the same location, then what is the use of that one? There is no use, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
So we have to, now I didn't create that one. Just I'm coming back and then click replica.
Data management.
So
Yeah.
create, then I'm creating that new server, my server replica, it is available. Then same password. The location, just I'm going to select something.
Could be
Yes.
different. Yeah.
So best way is just I'm selecting west.
Yeah.
So west US there. So I'm selecting west US. So the total direct opposite position, right?
Yes. Yes.
So then click OK. See here. Now it's created. The rest of the things are disabled, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because it should not be editable.
Yeah.
The same types, the same name, the same size, everything should be the same. I'm taking a replication, I'm taking copy or duplicate only.
Yeah.
So I have created. So to use the elastic pool, so the same storage, the same name, everything is same. The server only
Yes. Yes.
different. My server replica West US. Then I'm clicking. So it is also going to be have that separate amount of this cost amount. Then create. So already existing available in this demo resources. You can find out your all the services. What are the services you have created? So actually you have created on database, and then on server you have created my server Paul is on created. So this is available in that East US, and this data available in the same East US.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So now, so that part still it is in refreshing processing only.
So after the G replica created, right? It will show here also.
Yeah, yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Okay.
Then refresh it. So development is in progress. Almost all are created. So refresh it. It's accepted. So see, actually, this also creating the same resourcing group, right? The resourcing group demo only, right?
Yeah,
So
demo.
then this server information also should be available in our group, the demo group. So here it should be available. So this group should have all the server details actually. See here,
Yes. Yes.
my server replica is available. These all are my resources. These all are so belongs to this account, right?
Yes.
So all are I have created all these services under that one group, resource group, which is called the name of demo. So all will be there. So I can create multiple group, but now I'm using that only one group, and then under that group I have creating all the servers. Now see here, and go to the server. See this is the server person admin name and server details. So this server also having the demo DB is having location is West USL, right? STS. See here, I'm going to this same replica database. Just I have to open this database. I'm going to click this replica. See here, this replica having so two server details, right? This is the primary. This is the primary server. So it is available. This is a secondary. Secondary always will be readable only. Secondary always will be readable only.
Readable.
But this server will have all the data, whatever data are available in this server, this database, the database in this server. Suppose if you are entering that new data into this server now, so through the business application, actually you will enter the data into this one only, right? Because this one will be a primary, this one will be connected with your business application. So this one will be connected to the business application. So there all data will be available. The same type of data will be inserted into this demo DB also. But it will not be accessible to you, to the user. This data will be inserted automatically to this table by the Azure. Because this database is created as a replica of this database, right? So then, then when we can insert the data into this direct, now actually, if this database is to become as a primary database because of some issues that means that disaster happened and that EST USL. So then at that time, automatically this will be become as a primary database. At that time, it will be inserted the data when you are entering the data. So the data will be inserted here. But the problem is here actually what I'm going to do here, I'm just to check that one, just I'm clicking this one here, forced failover. Forced failover. See, this is active. So we could not apply that any failover because failover had this database only be going to be act as a failover database, right? So this is having that feature, just right click and then forced to failover. Just I'm clicking forced to failover will switch my server replica demo DB to the primary role. The old primary my server Paul demo DB will automatically become the new secondary if it is online. All TDS sessions will be disconnected. This operation may cause data loss. Are you sure you want to be proceed? Yes, I want to do it. See here, it's pending, still in processing.
Yeah.
Now this my server coming into this primary place, right?
Yes, yes.
So replica state is pending. So once this failover is complete, the process is pending is completed now. So this this demo DB will act as a primary. So now it is acting as a primary only. So based on this one, so we have to do this changes in the business application because now server has got changed, right?
Yes.
Database all are same, but server got changed. The geo actually this replicas process actually you can create it, but the problem is this is you can do it in that manually only. So you can do it manually only. So but this is not a favor, right? Because I don't know when the disaster will be happen.
Yes, yes.
So if it is the when disasters happen now, so I could not wait for this manual process, right?
Yes.
So this is the main manual process. We can do it for the testing purpose. We can check it whether this secondary and primary is changing properly. If the failover is happened, we can check it manually, like how we did now. Just right click on this
Yeah.
one, and then we can apply the force. Then it will be so applied. Okay, but in the real time scenario, the live application, this type of replication concept is will not be suitable for that. It should be automated. Actually, the replication, this data replication, that geo replication, the changing the databases from one source to another source because of the disaster, no, it should be automated. Manual process will not be helpful, right?
Yeah.
So to want to create that automation failover, na, so we have to create that failover group. We have to create the failover group. So how we can create that failover group? See here, still it is taking time. Still pending. So it's taking too much of time. So I'll go to this our main home. Actually, this is our main server, right?
My sir. Yeah.
So this is our main server here. See here, we are seeing that one option. It's called failover groups. So you have to create the
Yeah.
failover groups. So add group. So you can give that any of the name for this one. Failover group all.
Yeah.
Then you have to select the server. So actually, this is my server, right?
Correct.
So the same server. So from this one we are creating. So then I have to add this one as a group.
Replica
So
server.
replica server. And read-write failover policy should be automatic, not manual. It should be automatic. And read-write grace period, it's 1 hour, minimum 1 hour. So I'm taking that 1 hour only, just for updating that one.
Okay.
And configure databases. So we are having only one database, right? So the database, you have to select it. Then click OK. Then create. So deployment is in progress here. This replica. See, the failover group is creating. Fine. Actually, this is depends upon your internet speed and also the responses from the Azure. Okay.
Correct.
But in the live environment, office environment, so it will be something fast. So
in real time, right? You need this geo replica and failover group, right?
sorry.
You have access or in real time. So in that failover group and geo replica, right? You have access to create or the admin tool will create this one.
So actually, this part, so this all related to that database failover. Mostly that admin person, the SQL server admin person will do it actually.
Okay.
See here.
Yes.
So here, see this now. The blue tick is primary.
Nice. Yes.
So the blue tick is primary, and the green is secondary. So now this failover group is actually, so it's working fine. It's connected. It's working fine. Suppose disaster has happened. Disaster, if any disaster has happened, no? So automatically this will be become as a primary, and this will become as a secondary. Okay. See now, so here it should be changed actually. See here, this is the previous one, right?
Yeah.
Now this failover group is automatic 1 hours. Failover group.
Yes.
Automatic 1 hours once it will be automatic. Okay. See here. Actually, earlier this was not available, right?
Correct.
But now this is available means because using this one we have created.
Yeah.
We have created. Suppose the failover happened now. So if you want to test it now, just I'm forcing this failover. Just a force. The first failover will switch all secondary database in failover group to the primary role. All DDS sessions will be disconnected. All DDS session will be automatically rerouted to the secondary server, which now becomes primary server. This operator may cause the data loss. Then okay. So now this should come as a primary one.
Primary and this one secondary. Correct.
See, it is processing.
Yes, yes.
So this might be the cost relation problem. See here. See, this is our all failover group details. The failover groups. This is
Automatic system.
stop the replication. Encounter an error for server name MySQL. So the operation currently performed because the geo replication like is part of the failover groups. You must remove the database from the group in order to individual terminate the failover. So now, so I'm trying to stop this one because it is not allowing. So because it is in the group. So failover group, why we have created actually without any manual interaction, it should be changed that primary into secondary and secondary into primary, right? So that is the reason only we have created this failover group. So the failover, so now this server is one of the member in this failover group. So if you are trying to stop the replication from the replication of this database, now it is not allowing. Suppose if you want to remove all of these things, now then you have to go to the database. From the database, first you have to clear the database server. From the database server, from this failover group, you have to remove the database first. So then only, so you can delete that replica from that database directly. But now we are in that, which one? We are in the failover group. See, now this for server east is a primary one, and for server replica west is a secondary one. So if there's any actually these things is happen, so failover processes happen, disasters happen now, actually automatically, so this will be changed. So force failure with the already also encounters an error failover. So demo DB is not a replication target. Demo DB is not a replication target. So what we have to do? Okay. Database, the demo DB is available. So demo DB primary server demo, no server in this file or group is being replicated. Secondary server we have deleted, so it's available, not available. Then so database selected, nothing. So data failover group configuration, edit configuration, automatic owner. Then click OK. So here we have to check it. Actually, it is showing like it is saying like this one. The server replica it is does not have that demo DB, right? It is saying like that one. That is the reason only this forced failure is not opening. So I have to check it. So here now come to this home. So then the demo. Then we have to check that our server replica. So server replica having that demo DB is there. So everything is available. Okay. So go to this one and here. Sorry. My server Paul. So here also it's available. This failover group. So just I'm removing this failover group. Seven failover deleted. Okay. So just refresh it. So now refresh. No, so failover group. I'm going to the server replica. From here, I'm deleting. I'm creating this one. Just so failover replica. This already it's available. So replica 1. So this server, just I'm going to add it automatically on our. Actually, the problem is that time, that failover group time, I didn't select this configure database. So now I'm selecting.
Yes, you did not select that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. So
Yes.
So now it is available on database eligible, then create. So now I have created this failover group in that another server. Okay, yeah. For second server, I have created this one. Still, yes, it is creating. So deployment is ready, succeeded. The failover group is ready. Now this is the primary and this is the secondary.
This is
So
secondary.
east use is secondary. And then if you click the failover, so then click OK now. So it should be changed. See, failover group, failover in progress, failover in progress to failover group. No, all secondary server.
Secondary.
See here. Earlier the east use was secondary, right?
Yes, yes.
So now it is processing. So now the east use become as a primary, and then this is a become as a secondary.
Secondary.
So completed. So failover have this happen now automatically. So this type of changes will be happened. Okay. So what you have to do, the important thing you have to follow it, the read write listener, the read write listener endpoint, the failover read only listener, failover replica secondary database, read write listener endpoint. See, once again I'm doing this force failover. So now what should be done now? So this east should be secondary and this one be okay
primary.
So this process is happening processing, so it's okay. But see here, now this is the primary and this is secondary.
This is secondary.
Okay, but here actually the application which is going to use by that end user, right? The application. In the application, when they are connecting with the database, they have to use that connection, right?
Yes.
For the connection, they have to provide the server details, right?
Correct.
The important thing is they should not use this server name. They should not use the because what will be happen if I'm selecting this server? For example, I'm selecting my database. If I'm selecting this database now, this is a server, right?
Yes.
They should not use this server or that server. This one or that one. Or that one, this one. So they should not use either this one or that one, right? Because
that one, correct.
When the failovers happen, the server information will be reorder, right?
Yes, yes.
So I don't know which application going to be a primary database, right? Which database is going to be a primary based on the disaster is going to be decided. But this server name will not be changed.
Correct.
So if you are using that forced failover concept, now then what you have to do, you have to use this file.
Okay.
So the application side, when they are mentioning this database connection server details, they have to mention the server details.
Yes, yes.
You got it?
Yeah.
So this is the way only we can do that failover group. We can create the failover group. The failover group, so this is very, very important for the database management purpose. So the disaster management, if you want to keep it, and then so we have to create the replica database, then we have to create the failover group. So that failover group only will handle that automatically, selecting that database as a primary, as a secondary as a primary. Okay.
Okay.
So this will be more helpful when we are facing the disaster.
Yeah.
So now I hope you are cleared about this replica and failover group. The failover group, especially we are creating for that automation, automatic failover handling. Yes. So for automatic, if you are creating only the replicas in the database wise now, so you have to do the manual. You have to do manual. You got it?
Yes, yes.
So fine. So in the next session, we will create that our Azure Data Factory.